everyone, I'm Kathryn Soley, and this is 1-800-CALL-KATHRYN. So, as always, I am looking forward to taking your calls today. And after I get this candle lit, let's jump in and hear from our first caller.
Hi, Kathryn. So I have always been under the impression that I have wanted to move, that I wanted to leave the city that I'm in, and now I'm starting to wonder if that is going to affect my life purpose and where I'm going, and how events in this country play out, if I'm supposed to leave the country to really unlock a better lifestyle for myself. And right now I don't have any kids. I've always wondered if I want to have kids, but I don't feel like I'm in the right spot in life to be able to do that. And if I want to expand my career, how I'm going to do that if I'm stuck in a place that I've always known. And I'm wondering how I might be able to do that and when it might be feasible. It seems like I have so many good things going on for myself from the outside looking in, but for myself, I've always wondered, is this really where I want to end up? And I've also wondered if it's possibly time that I should be leaving the same town and city that I've grown up in and my parents live in still. So it's a really big topic for me right now, and how I might transition out of this phase, or if I should just accept that where I am is where I'm supposed to be. So I'm hoping to gain some clarity on all of those questions. Thanks.
Okay, so it sounds like there's just a lot up, maybe not up in the air, but you're considering some different possibilities, thinking about some big moves, some life decisions. I'm hearing stuff about leaving the country potentially, or just leaving the town and the state that you grew up in. I'm also hearing stuff about career, and I'm hearing stuff about having kids. Just like a lot of things on your mind at this time. So let's shuffle the cards here and see what we have. This chair, by the way, is beautiful. I don't know how well I've ever really shown it. I got it right when I was starting the show. I had an idea. I wanted a chair like this, and then I was driving literally down my street, and there was an estate sale happening like a 3-minute walk from my house, and there's so much cool stuff in the house. But this chair was sitting outside, and it was spray painted, or it was painted green. Actually, it was like exactly the same color as the green screen, so I had to paint it. But it is extremely, I won't say extremely, it hurts my back to sit in this chair. So my back's already feeling sore. I don't know if anyone's ever had one of these kind of wicker chairs, but they are not supportive. Okay. Anyway, let's see what we have for you, caller. Okay, so we have the Knight of Swords, the King of Wands, and the Two of Cups. So it feels like each card feels like it's different things to consider, different things to keep in mind as you are navigating this point in life where there's a lot of kind of questions. It sounds like, I've talked about this in different episodes, but it sounds like Saturn return kind of energy. Even if you're not, someone in one of the previous episode emailed me and said they're not going through their Saturn return, but then we figured out they were having a Saturn square, which is kind of like a lesser Saturn return. But yeah, so it just sounds like there's a lot that maybe, you've said, and we've already touched on this, there's a lot that's just up in the air right now. So each one of these cards feels like it's just a different thing to keep in mind. So when I see the Knight of Swords come up, to me it's, the swords have to do with the way that we think. And the Knights are kind of like engaging with the world. They're taking what they know and they're engaging the world with it. So it's like, there's something about maybe making decisions, with the Knight of Swords, when I think about it, it's often like making choices, making decisions quickly. The shadow of the Knight of Swords can be like, you're moving really fast. You're not like taking into consideration potential downfalls or pitfalls. I used to pull the Knight of Swords a lot when I was working in a very fast-paced restaurant, and like that felt like it was the energy of that time where it's like, go, 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 move, get this out, let's go. And so there's pros to that. Like sometimes you do need to move quickly, but then also at the same time being sure that you're not acting too quickly, right? So thinking about this, not delaying too much, not waiting too long, not waiting for the absolute perfect moment. You might have to just act quickly, and like you might just have the gut feeling, you might have the intuition all of a sudden, it's time for me to act on this. But also being careful about the downfalls of impulsivity. With the King of Wands, it feels like it brings in a nice kind of balance to that energy, where the King of Wands has a certain mastery over our energy, the way that we use our energy in the world. And so it's this part of yourself that's, it may help to temper any sorts of impulsive, too quick choices. And it may also help to bring more maturity and more clarity to quick choices. I had a thought there that I lost. We'll see if that comes back. And then the Two of Cups. When I see this card come up in relationship to the reading, it feels like it's finding some kind of emotional balance. The cups are generally, I relate to the emotions. The two, it's like a balance here. And so making sure that any sort of decisions are being made with a balanced emotionality. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So sometimes when we're in an uncomfortable situation, or we just feel stagnant, or we just feel stuck, we just want to get out of it. And so wrong choices can be made in that feeling of like, I just got to get out of this. Because you're making a decision not from intuition, not from like, yes, clarity, this is what I want, but from discomfort, from fear, from anxiety, from something like this. I think a lot of people get into relationships, romantic relationships, like in this way, where they're just sick of being lonely, they're sick of being alone, or they go through a breakup and then they're not used to being alone, and so it's like, oh, I better just snag the next person that comes along so that I don't have to feel, this lonely feeling, and then they end up in a relationship that's not exactly what they actually want. I used to, when I was moving around a lot when I was like in my 20s, and like a lease would be up in an apartment I was living in, I would often, multiple times, I would just, take the first apartment that showed up. and then I wouldn't be happy there. It's just because I was uncomfortable not knowing where I was going to live. So I would just be like, okay, all right, fine, this is good. And then I wouldn't really end up being happy living there. So I would just say, overall, as you're making your decisions, these are, a lot of like pretty big, it's kind of like, there's so many things, it sounds like, coming up at this time, and it's almost funny to give each one of those things could be their own reading. And so I'm just giving kind of like a general reading for what's going on for you right now, but it's like there's a lot. And I would just say, make sure you don't delay, but you don't act too quickly. Like, find the balance in, seizing opportunities, but you're seizing the opportunity from a place of emotional balance. You're doing it for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. Oh God, just reflecting back on times in my life where, made some not so good decisions because I was like, for totally the wrong reasons. Let's pull an oracle card here for some guidance with these themes going forward. Interesting. Okay, release. So kind of a perfect card for this, or an interesting card for this. As you're shifting, it sounds like, my sense as I'm listening to your reading is that there will be some kind of change that's happening. It seems like maybe you're in the early or middle phases of this shift. And in that process, moving, whatever, changing careers, having kids, any of these changes that you go through, there's going to be a releasing of the old you and a welcoming in of the new you. Sometimes people have such a hard time releasing the old that they hold on to it, and they can't open to and embrace the direction that life wants to take them in, and so they end up just kind of stuck repeating the same things again and again. I will say too that even if you do end up staying where you are, not moving, not changing careers, not having kids, that release still can happen. Like, it's an internal thing. And that's another thing that sometimes I think people think, I have to make external changes in order to make internal changes. External changes will often speed up. I'm doing a lot of snapping in this reading, but it'll often speed up the internal change process. But tingling on the top of my head as I'm saying that. But it's not necessary to have internal change. You don't necessarily need to make the external change. It makes me think of a lot of people that I know that find themselves on a spiritual path usually go through a phase where they get rid of all of their belongings. I've done it. I once got rid of all of my furniture except for a bed and 2 meditation cushions and a table for an altar. And that was all the furniture that I had in my apartment. I've known people, to do this. You just get rid of everything. And that can help to facilitate inner change, but it doesn't automatically do that. So if you're looking to have an inner change, if that's the real thing that you're looking to do, and you're trying to do it through external change, just be aware of that too, that you don't necessarily need to have external change to make internal change. But there's nothing wrong with the external change either. So, all right, that's what I have for you. Even though it feels like there's big things afoot, I don't feel like a heaviness from the reading. I don't feel concern or anything. I feel like you're going to navigate it just fine. So just trust your intuition, trust yourself, and see where life takes you. You sound kind of young. I don't know how old you are, but life, there's plenty of time. And when you're young, it's good to shake things up, I think. I guess it's good to shake things up anytime, but okay. Let's hear from our next caller. Let's do this one. Yeah, let's do this one first.
Hello, Kathryn. This is Olga from Prague. The question that I have for you today is concerning my profession. I work as a copywriter at a big tech company, and I've been in the industry for a few years now, and I'm having a little bit of a life crisis. I'm almost 40, and I feel like I need a change, a really big kind of life change. I'm not happy in my work. It's inspiring. I don't really want to be part of the corporate world anymore, and the direction I would like to go in is more towards working with a therapist or something in that field, but I don't really know where to begin, if it's possible, how it would work out. I'm worried about all the implications. Like I said, like guidance around really dramatically shifting my career, what that may be like, some advice around how to do it, and how long it can take. So that's my question. Thank you.
All right. So in previous episodes, I think I've mentioned this has been, I'm kind of surprised. I guess I'm not that surprised, but I'm kind of surprised that this has been one of the most popular themes of all the calls is career stuff. It's not surprising because it's one of the top things that people get readings for. But yeah, I mean, how many people, oh God, what a time on this fucking planet. How many people are working jobs they don't really like, but they have to. Oh, what a weird time. Office jobs. How many of our ancestors worked in an office? Working for a corporation where the fruits of your labor aren't even really maybe necessarily appreciated or noticed. So no wonder there's so many people questioning that and thinking about other possibilities. So let's see what we have for you, Olga. Okay, so we have the Two of Swords, the World, and the Star. And as I've said in previous readings, previous episodes, we have two cards here in the Major Arcana. We have the World and the Star. When there's two or more cards in a 3-card reading that are in the Major Arcana, to me this indicates that this is a bigger theme. It's something that you've been sitting with for a while, working with for a while. It might be something that, in my language, I might say that it is something that is more on a soul level. Both of those cards are honestly, even within the Major Arcana, I associate with they have like a bigger kind of energy to them. So noticing, look at this. This is like, if I jiggle the table, this is really heavy. Okay, anyway. So when I see that, these kind of like bigger cards coming up in relationship to your question here, I wonder, is this, damn, I try not to be this dramatic, so take this with a grain of salt, okay? Because maybe I could try to say this in a little bit more of a tempered way, but I'm not going to. But this what's going on right now may have to do with life's purpose, like your purpose, like in terms of the work that you're doing in this life, the work that you're doing in the world. There may be something about that here. The choices that you make around career at this time may have long felt effects, and I feel like, and again, I try not to give too much direct advice here, but I have the sense that a change would be a positive thing. So we have the Two of Swords here. And when I see the Two of Swords come up, to me it usually indicates where we're kind of stuck between two thoughts, two choices. And so that makes sense for your reading here. Like, should I stay with my career? I'm sure that your career has a certain sense of security. My guess is you're probably working for a copywriter at a big tech company. You probably make pretty good money. Probably flexible in a lot of ways. Probably comes with stress in certain ways, but I can see there would be a lot of pros there. And but it's not fulfilling. There's like a part of you that is longing to be fulfilled in another way. And so what would make you feel most fulfilled in life? I always laugh at myself because it's just like, if I knew that, I wouldn't be getting a tarot reading. But you say here that you're considering being a therapist, like that's one of the options. And I think a lot of people go for that option because they want to help. They want to help people. But not everybody is, most people are not really well suited to be therapists. And I think most people don't understand how hard that job is. It is, if you are like trying to find a therapist and you're like, it costs so much money, you have no idea like how hard that job is. You have to hear really horrible stuff all the time and navigate people that are like difficult clients, all sorts of things. It's not an easy job. It's really not. And it's so common for therapists to get burnt out. I think there's a certain number of people who are really well suited for it, who don't get burnt out by helping people, or by talking about difficult things. They're not really, they've done a lot of their own inner work. That's a big part, because if you've done a lot of your own inner work, it's harder for other people's stuff to trigger your own stuff, hence causing burnout. And I just feel like also, I think it's harder now, like the general climate that we're in is people are afraid to say the wrong thing, afraid of like offending somebody, or it's something I have to navigate to some extent doing the work that I do. And I think that that's really a bummer for certain things, because sometimes direct honesty is like what's needed, but people, how dare you say that, anyway, there's a fine balance. Okay, I don't want to go on a tangent here. So, looking at like, what is it that draws you in for being a therapist? Like, what about that is appealing to you? mentioned this in previous episodes, but doing an Ikigai process might be helpful. It's been very helpful to me in the past, where it's this Japanese system. I'll show it here, but it's what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what's the other one? What you are good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and one other thing. And if you just go through those circles and like make lists of like all of those things, it might be able to help you kind of narrow things down. Having the star card here, I see it as like two possible situations. One is that maybe you need a little bit of a rest. Are you burnt out from your corporate job? Do you need to take some time off before you do you have vacation time? Can you take a vacation? Can you take a mindful vacation, where you go somewhere? It doesn't have to be expensive. Maybe like rent a cabin somewhere for like a week and just be with yourself and contemplate life, contemplate where you want things to go, rest, meditate, eat well, like take care of yourself, like just recharge for like a week and reflect and do that sort of thing. Is that something that's possible? The other side that I see with this card is that perhaps this is something that you could be doing work-wise, something about nurturing, caring for others, taking care of others, which it sounds like you may have a propensity to do that anyway if you're considering therapy as a career. So let's pull a card here. Let's see what we have for you, Olga from Prague. I would really love to visit Prague sometime. Okay. Manifestation. So this is one of those words that has been ruined by annoying people. It's I believe it's a law of the universe. It's a law of reality manifestation. But because of things like The Secret, which there's truth in that book, that movie, but it's also like missing a lot. It's missing, you have trauma that conditions your ability to manifest. It doesn't take into account that the world is very out of balance. It doesn't take into account a lot of things. But regardless, so if you hate that word, anyone listening hates that word, you roll your eyes, you get like annoyed by the people that like just manifest your reality and these people. Put away your bias for a second and just recognize the reality of this. There is truth to this, that to a certain, I would say to a large extent, the events that unfold in life, it's like the law of karma. It's the laws of cause and effect. And it's so much bigger, I think, than just like, I want to manifest a fancy vacation. I want to manifest a nice car. I want to manifest a handsome lover. I want, it's like these superficial things. It's like so much is like so much is like unconscious and how things manifest. So, but okay, that's my rant about manifestation. But for this reading, I would say, Olga, what would you like to manifest in your life? What kind of career, ideally, like if it was, anything was possible, sky's the limit, what type of life for yourself would you have? Why not let yourself go there? It doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But I think it's not a bad idea for anyone listening to let yourself go to big possibilities, to let your mind imagine big possibilities of what could happen, like things that seem so far out of reach now. Don't get attached to them. Don't get attached to these ideas, but it at least lets you know what it is that you want, and it opens you up to the possibility of manifesting that, of manifesting those things. Again, don't get attached to it though, because on one level you might get disappointed getting attached to it, but on another level, sometimes things work out in ways that you don't expect. They might work out even better than you imagined. But if you're attached to it, then if you're like, this is how my life has to unfold, this is how things have to go, then no other possibilities can come to you because you're so locked in, right? So, okay, Olga. So just to summarize here, I just say, this feels like it's a bigger point in your life. I would do some reflection before making any big decisions. Spend some time being with yourself, reflecting on what it is that you want in life, what it is that you're good at, what it is that you think you could offer, and start to do some brainstorming around that. See if you can take a break, maybe, if that's possible, take a little vacation, a conscious, mindful, present vacation, not just like going somewhere and, checking out, but checking in, right? Okay, I think that's what I have for you, Olga. I hope that that's helpful. All right, so should we hear from our last caller? This phone is heavy.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I'm just calling because I would like a little clarity on what it is or how it is I need to be to move through this kind of block that I have. I don't even really know what the block is, but I feel like there's something there. Any sort of insight on that would be lovely. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye.
Okay, Rachel. I'm guessing a lot of people can relate to this. Who has a block that they don't know what it is, but they know that there's something there? Oh my God. Or maybe you sort of know things that are blocking your energy, things that are blocking you from moving in certain ways, things that are blocking you from relaxing, blocking you from opening your heart, blocking you from happiness, whatever. But maybe you're not totally clear on what it is. Oh my God. I think with practice, with time, with practice, you get to recognize what the blocks are, because it's often the same sort of ones, just coming up and manifesting in slightly different ways, different layers of the same sort of blocks coming up, different flavors of the blocks coming up. You start to recognize them the more that you work with them. So let's see what we have for you, Rachel. Okay. So we have the Queen of Swords, the Magician, and the Queen of Cups. So just noting the layout of the cards, they're all looking to the left. I associate the left with the past. Okay, kind of makes sense for a block, right? Something from the past. And then we have two queens flanking the Magician in the center here. So let's start. I'm going to start by talking about the queens here. Okay. So if you guys have been watching many episodes by now, is this our 10th episode? This is the 10th episode. Woo, 10th episode. Then you may know by now that the swords are related to the way we think. The cups are related to the way we feel. And the queens are a sort of, they have like a mothering kind of energy to them, nurturing kind of energy to them. So I would say in relationship to this, when you're relating to this block that you have, trying to get to the block, trying to understand what the block is and work with it. In order to work with the block, maybe not always, but I think you really have to know what the block is. You can't work with it if you don't know what it is. You can maybe find ways to navigate around the block, but if you want to actually work through it, then you have to know what the block is. And so the queens feel like they're there to help kind of gently, nurturingly support you through getting close to moving towards what this block is, both in the mind and both in the feelings and the emotions and the heart. The Magician, generally when I see the Magician come up, I think one of the big things I think about with the Magician is he has all the tools that he needs. He has all his tools here. He has what he needs to get the job done. The Magician is kind of a funny character. I have a whole series on my Patreon about the Major Arcana. Each card in the Major Arcana has about a class that's about 30 minutes to 60 minutes long, each card. So you can really dive into the archetypal meanings of the cards. Only $5 a month, by the way. So if you want to learn tarot yourself, it's a really great resource. You're not going to find a resource like that at that price anywhere else. But I really enjoyed the class that I did on the magician there. I talked a lot about the trickster, I associate with the trickster archetype, and in this instance, though, the trickster as an archetype is neutral. And sometimes the trickster, we feel he's on our side. Sometimes we feel like he's against us. But ultimately, the trickster's job is to reveal truth in unconventional, kind of surprising ways. And so when I see this in relationship to your question here, you feel this block. If you have certain tools that you have in your toolbox for working with blocks that you've worked with before, you have issues come up, you may need, with the Magician I said you have the tools that you need, but in this case you may need to search out new tools, because there might be something kind of what's the word, not nebulous, but I don't know what the word is, dynamic, where it mercurial, where it moves around. It's maybe harder to pin down. And honestly, doing this reading, this happens sometimes, not that often, but in this reading, I am also, as the reader, having a hard time pinning down what's going on with this reading. So I almost want to ask you, is your block that you're taking yourself too seriously? Is your block that you're looking for a block? Are you sure you even have a block? Are you really sure? Sometimes we can block ourselves in ways that are odd, ways that we might not expect, like in terms of, a classic example is like when things are going well, we're like always waiting for the other shoe to drop, or always waiting for something bad to happen, like looking like when's something gonna go wrong? Is that what's going on here? And there's actually nothing going wrong, and the block is like self-created. I would not be surprised if that's what was going on here. Let's pull an oracle card for some guidance with these themes going forward. The oracle card from the oracle deck. I'm going to take a moment here. Let's see what this card has to share. Is there something in your life right now where you're digging your heels in? Where you're like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. Are you being confronted with some sort of shift, some sort of change that you know on some level that you want to make? Or rather, not that you want to make, but that needs to happen. And you're digging your heels in about it, avoiding it. Like looking the other way. Oh, maybe I don't have to make that change. Maybe I don't have to do that thing. And is that thing, does it have to do with your spiritual path? Does it have to do with your spiritual life? There's it's odd energies in this reading. Interesting, kind of hard to pin down. But yeah, overall I get the sense that there's something that you're digging your heels around, something that you're avoiding about your spiritual path, about your relationship to spirituality. And that's actually, in the end, like not that difficult, not that complicated. It's just you have to look at it, you have to face it. And my guess is that you'll probably know what it is that I'm talking about when you hear me say that. So, okay, Rachel, that's what I have for you. Yeah, and again, with that reading, like the energy of the readings, I'm not worried about you. I'm not feeling too much heaviness there. It's just, there's something I can almost see like an aha moment, and maybe it's happening right now. Maybe it happened earlier before you even watch this. Maybe it's coming, but I get the sense there's some kind of aha moment. Oh yeah, there it is. There's that block. That's what it's been this whole time. All right, let's pull a card of the day, shall we? To close out our episode today. Okay, so we have the Two of Wands. So today, it's pretty on theme with actually a lot of our readings so far. Thinking about the future. So taking some time today to think about the future. If you continue on the path that you're on in your life at this time, where will you be a year from now? Where will you be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? If you continue without making any shifts, without making any changes, are you happy with how that'll look a year from now, 5 years from now? If not, what would you like to change? What would you like to do differently in order to get you to a place where you would like to be? And if you are really happy with where things are going, is there anything you can do to enhance it even more? Or can you just give yourself a little pat on the back and be like, good job for doing what needs to be done and continuing on the path that you're on in a way that's supportive to your deepest being at this time? Okay, that's what I've got for you all. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you have not yet, please subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like, leave a comment. As far as I understand, it's helpful to the algorithm. I'd like to see these videos get a little bit of a bigger audience. I'd like to be getting more calls in. I'd like to see this grow a bit, and I think that is best done by subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting. If you enjoy the show, if you've gotten a reading for free on here, it really helps me out if you share, subscribe, like, comment, and so on. And keep calling in, 641-632-2727. Don't be afraid. Give a call. If you've called already and your call's not been featured, or if you have been featured on the show, you can still call again. I don't really keep track of the numbers that come in. Sometimes, I've noticed there's a couple people I've given, multiple readings, or a couple, maybe at least one person I've given a few, 2 or 3 readings to, and I think maybe one other person. So you're always welcome to call in multiple times. If your call hasn't been played on the show, you can call in again and try to leave the call again. Sometimes it's just I can't hear it, or there's just something off with the message, so I can't really play it on air, or maybe it was too long, or like too rambly, or something like that. So you can always try calling in again. And yeah, if you want to learn tarot yourself, $5 a month through my Patreon. There are 30 plus hours of video classes on tarot, how to read tarot, on the major arcana, on the suits, on all sorts of stuff. Lots and lots of information there. You are not going to find classes or this in-depth level of information about tarot for $5 like anywhere else. And If you want to get a reading from me, a private reading, not for the show, you can do so at kathrynsoli.com/tarot. And I don't know when this episode is going to come out, if it'll come out in time, but September 22nd, the Poisonous Plant Medicine course, level 1 of the Poisonous Plant Medicine course begins. It's a really cool course. It's one of my favorite things in my life that I get to do, and I really recommend it. If you like my style of reading on the show, you'll probably like these courses. You can learn more at kathrynsoli.com. And if it's past September 22nd, you can still join later. It's just that you won't be able to be at the first class live, but I let people sign up late. It's not really a big deal. But if you're watching this and it's way past, I teach this course about twice a year, so be on the lookout for another one. All right, everybody, thanks for being here, and I will see you later. Bye.